Hi guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. This is episode 24. We are with Plateno Guy right here, Pete, as everyone will call him. We are here to talk about Last Night in Soho. Yes, the film I went to see 2 weeks ago when the review should have been out 2 weeks ago. But I decided, because I had to get the extras free and Dream Demon out the way, where he decided we're going to do this for episode 24 because episode 23 was the Ghostbusters review. Anyway, I'm Ryan of Let's Get Kicking Movies, and I'll see you beyond the destruction, baby. As you all know, at the start, I just announced that we are doing the Last Night in Soho review with Peter Tom. Let's dive into it. So, Pete, as you are the guest, tell us the synopsis for Last Night in Soho.
Last Night in Soho follows this young wannabe fashion designer called Ellie Turner, or Eloise Turner. And she loves music, she loves fashion, but she has a real big thing for the 60s. And she gets accepted into this art school for fashion designers. So she heads off to London from her I think it's Cornwall village. And she heads off there into London to try and make it big at this school. She ends up at the school, and to be frankly honest, well, should we say her friends really don't treat her very well at all and basically bully her. So she ends up renting this apartment building somewhere in Soho. She pays this old lady a visit and she says, yes, this room's here. And she spends her first night in this room. And let's just say it's certainly an unforgettable experience as she's transported to the world of the 60s, and straight from the get-go it looks wonderful, but as the film goes along it slowly messes with her mind and she starts to see things in real life as well as the true horrors, what actually happened in the 60s.
Look, if for me, I've got to see it on the big screen, which was phenomenal. Like the colors that was used in the film, for the psychological themes, it was just amazing. There was only a certain part where I had flashing lights. That was the scene where they're at nightclub, dress up for Halloween and everything. What did you like about the film? Tell us your thoughts about Last Night in Soho.
Well, straight from the get-go, the film won me over with its choice of soundtrack. The film starts off with Peter and Gordon's A World Without Love, which is another 60s song. And throughout this film, it is just littered with brilliant song choices from the 60s. Edgar Wright has always had a thing for having music tracks in time with the beat of the film. There was a couple of fight scenes in The World's End. There was also quite a bit with Shaun of the Dead. But it wasn't until Baby Driver where his ideas really come to fruition with all the action set pieces and the car chases in time to the music. And it really does continue on here with Last Night in Soho with so many great tracks that perfectly encapsulates the 60s in general. From songs from the Kinks to Cilla Black, The Who, it just works so well. There was even quite a haunting rendition of Puppet on the String, which is I'm pretty certain, a Eurovision Song Contest winner song by Sandy Shaw. And I think it won. And that always seemed like a really jolly song to me. But the way that song has way the film has twisted that song around, I honestly can't look at that song the same way again. But it was fantastically shot, and the dance sequence to it is just so hauntingly done. And throughout the film's adventure, throughout the film, it just constantly bombards you with great tunes. There's even Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays one of the leading stars. She even has a couple of goes at doing her own versions, her own covers of both Downtown and Cilla Black, You Are My World, and she really did a great job. What did you think of the soundtrack?
Well, to me, I'm not really a big fan of 60s music, that kind of stuff. But seeing these actors and actresses, which probably I think it was mainly Anya Taylor-Joy, and alas, who was acting in as Cilla Black. I thought they did pretty well in music about was it Moonlight? I think they usually said. Or was it Downtown?
Downtown.
Yes. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy actually done a really good job, and she knew what she was getting herself into that role, bringing a new, unique kind of vibe to that familiar genre. Like you see, like as I'm going to tell you, is that Edgar Wright never really done this kind of thing before. Like he did Baby Driver, which is like an action kind of esque movie. Because like if you saw his from his previous movies, like from the Cornell Tree, as you said, they were mostly comedies, like but mixed in with different genre, like action, horror, romantic, that kind of thing with zombies plus sci-fi. And this brought a different vibe to it. He put psychological. I think there was a bit of I'm also going to say time travel as well. Had a bit of the science fiction vibe and horror because which it is. Because like you didn't know, is this lass can see spirits or is she just insane? So like right this is another question I want to ask you. Like, what do you think of the horror side of this story?
I think it's masterfully done. What Edgar Wright done with this film is basically turned a wonderland that is the 60s into a very dark, dingy place, and how it affected Ellie in the modern day. It affects her psychological awareness and it's affecting her everyday life. She's starting to see visions, she's thinking about it all the time, and it's slowly overtaking her. The film also has a real big, heavy giallo vibe to it, very much like Malignant from start of the year. The whole sort of like murder mystery element of it, and like she was searching through like old news articles about who murdered this young performer, and it really does play on her mind a lot. And also the brilliant sort of visual tricks that we have there with the camera displays and all sorts of things like that. It also tricks the watcher, the viewer, into how she feels as well.
Because like with like the visual effects that is used, the cameras must have to do like put them in a particular position, or like would have to shake it, or like some kind of like motion, bring that paranoia within someone's head. Because if you saw from a character, they just started to gain loads of schizophrenic themes, because it's like she thinks like, oh, she can actually see ghost spirits in her. But I think like what it is like she's starting to go crazy. Her schizophrenia is probably making her see things, all these kind of stuff, messing her with her mind, like making these real, like the men who are sex exploiting, like I'm gonna say the who's soon to be the main antagonist, which everyone probably would say Matt Smith's character. It's totally goes a different way, like which is and like that certain character is actually the lass who might be the one who thinks being getting murdered. So, like, what Edgar Wright, like, I think he must have took a whole load of inspiration. He must have visited like Soho itself, like seeing seeing the actual like location. Because if he didn't do that, he wouldn't have got the inspiration of like the nightclub that was being used for to sexually exploit girls into working there and not being able to leave. And that's what's worse about it. Like, back then anything could happen, like nobody could find out. Like, like at least there was like at least one cop literally trying to tell her to get the fuck out of there, right? But she doesn't listen, does she? She doesn't. No, because like she's forced to work there. She knows that Jack, who's played by Matt Smith, knows where every move she goes. She knows where she lives. She knows like where her parents live must have been. It's impossible to get away from. This is why you don't trust men anywhere else. This is why you go to a proper club, which is safe, which is not a nightclub, which means you're not going to get sexually exploited at any time of the day. So, like, did you thought like this film thing started to make you a bit sick in a way due to the sexual?
It tackles some very, very hard themes that are very prevalent to this day, like with various issues, what is going on with Hollywood as it is, and various casting couch sort of things that happened years ago. You definitely can tell that it's a very uncomfortable watch sometimes, especially like that rendition of Puppet on the String, that dancing scene, that was very uncomfortable. And there's a scene where Ellie's character or Sandy's trying to escape, and you can see what actually is going on behind the scenes and what these girls have to go through to get to stardom, what they think. It is exploitation to the worst, and you definitely feel sorry for her character, and it does make you feel sick sometimes what actually happens.
It literally is. Like, I even now wouldn't do that to somebody. Literally, if you do that to somebody, you know, as an example, you literally fucking sick. You'd be sick in the brain. Of course you will. You're sex exploiting these women, and you're making them that you don't want them to be. They just want, you know, they just want to be star of the show, not exposing them to men who are absolutely dirty bastards, even are the fucking rapists in a way, which they fucking are. And these girls are being forced to have sex with these men. That is fucking wrong. It is. It's literally wrong. Even I wouldn't fucking do that to somebody. Even you won't. Because we're respectable people, and it's not like you. I'm going to see people in the media. This is what really good. Like the Me Too movement is like really good for stuff like, because like anyone in Hollywood can literally like happen anyway. Like movie producers, like actors, and all that kind of stuff. They can lead into bad things. Like, you know, they reckon their careers. They know what they've done. Like they can never get away with it. Like, unless there are physical evidence that can be permitted. But that's the thing. It can never be found. Never be found. You know? Like, you can never, like, get away from it. And that's what this movie's trying to tell you about the industry. It is. And it also tells you about the psychological, the schizophrenic themes, like what people with schizophrenia have to go through every day. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. And you never get away from it. That's the thing. You never get away from
it. It definitely shows a dark side of show business.
If you want to say like movie producer has done some wrong things in there, like accidentally rape, like, you know, to seduce some women into doing things to get a role. That's the thing. Like even directors must have done it. Would have had sex with that person to be able to get that role, and that's fucking wrong. You go through the normal audition standard. You do that. If you like the person who's acting, of course, that's what you got to do, right? Don't go around doing all this thing to get a role, having sex with your director. It's fucking wrong. That's not how you get a fucking role. The way you get a fucking role is doing the same thing as everyone else. But yeah, it's fucking wrong, mate. It's fucking wrong. This is why I don't go into the fucking deep conversation about what happened into the whole show business. The reason why we're talking about this now, because it fits true to the story.
It's relevant to this film.
That's what we're like both talking about. And it's just I think the Me Too movement, like going back to that, it's needed. Those people have been the victims, or not been in the victims. They're teaming up to stop these people from doing it in the future. It's what happened been going on in the media lately, like with the murders that's been happening, that kind of stuff. Like that, what happened to that last couple of months ago in London. It's bloody horrible. I'm not going to mention like how it all happened, but she was like going home from a friend's house, and she was murdered by somebody out of the blue, just like that. That's fucking wrong. And they ended up going into a whole investigation, and eventually found her. And that's the thing. It's just like, it's fucking wrong. Like what that guy must have done, or could have been the last. That's the thing. Could have been anyone, right? You know, I think they found her head or something. I didn't know. I think her body was all over the place. But that's what the last thing I heard. But it's wrong. And the still thing is, we still got to do like the autopsy. And so yeah, let's move away from this and go on to the story writing. In a way, the story writing is absolutely phenomenal. You can take inspiration on how Edgar Wright wanted this to go through. He knew, like, let's go back to like the swinging 60s. We'll go to the 50s. Could have went to the 50s, but the 60s worked so well. And like as you said, with the music and everything, that's what we absolutely needed in this industry. And you need like something to build up your story, go back to the future and the past, which is really good because it's introducing science fiction in a way. You know, you're seeing this character who wants to be a star, but soon to be the murderer she might be. And luckily, this is a spoiler review, and we are about to reveal who is this murderer. Would you like to tell, please? Because you look very interested to see.
The murderer who's done everything is Sandy. What a way to pull the rug under the carpet from everybody, because part way through the film, Ellie brings home her friend, her boyfriend, who, let's just say, has really been through a lot, and he's, wow, fantastic boyfriend to her.
Mm-hmm.
She gets a vision of Sandy being murdered, and then from there she's on a hunt to see who is this man, and she thinks this older gentleman is him, but unfortunately he isn't. And it turns out that her landlady is actually Sandy from the now older and grey, and she's still out. She even stored the guys' bodies in the walls. Every single person who went there for whatever happened in that room, she murdered in brutal and horrific ways. And you get to see that in some really, really close up and quite graphic murder sequences. And it really does turn the tables on her. These shadowy figures who have stalked Ellie throughout the final third of the film actually didn't seem to be so threatening as once originally thought, as instead of haunting her, they're just asking her, help me.
To help her, to release them from the life of torture that they actually did themselves, but they respected, they knew the pain, they learned the lesson, and they just wanted to be free. And that's what's so brilliant. And that twist, like as you said, that was never coming. I never thought that was going to happen. Literally, it just came out the blue. I was like, what the fuck? Like everyone thought it was just. This is what's so great about thrillers. Like, you know, it makes you think this character has done it, but until you find out the truth in the climax, and that's just like fucking mind blowing and everything. And it's like,
and it was clever marketing, because Terence Stamp's character was heavily like rumored and sort of advertised in the trailers to be like Matt Smith's character, but older. But unfortunately, Matt Smith didn't make it through. It was actually him who got killed during that fateful night. And we find out that it's actually Diana Rigg's character, which may I say is a fantastic send-off for her final ever role. Apparently, she shot these scenes just a few days before she passed away. Yeah. It's shocking, and she gives, honestly, such a fantastic performance. She does. It's an outstanding final performance, an incredible showcase for more older people in film roles. It's a very sort of action-focused role, especially nearing the end.
Oh, exactly. Because I think when she died, I think she was she must have been in her early 80s, because I can tell. But I'll tell you something. She looked all right for 70 odd years old when she filmed that. Like literally, it's she still looks like a time when she was on the Avengers, and still look what she normally looks. And it's like, that is true actress right there, and she's just literally done a really good job. I really enjoyed the role. As the landlady was just spot on. You know, no men allowed in this house because of what she actually did to them. That's why. If she caught him again, that guy would have been dead. Literally, he would have been dead. Straight forward, but right?
Yep.
It was just like that.
And also, the amazing thing is, she always seems to be quite that nice landlady, firm but fair, shall we say, until that time when Eloise's boyfriend appears, and then she changes. You don't really think nothing much of her, but then when Eloise went to the police and told her more about what happened, and the police come into the house and told her, and Sandy actually found out, hang on, she knows what's going on. And then she invites her into her room, invites her for a coffee, and then the tables just turn. She goes from nice old lady to quite a sinister and scary one, because she poisons her drink and then stabs her boyfriend.
So basically, she turned into a total bitch. That's what she did.
It was unbelievable. Yeah. The whole staircase sequence was thrilling. Edge of your seat stuff.
It's like because literally the whole place was on fire. You can literally tell the place was on fire. Ellie went upstairs to get away from her. She literally went up there until she saw all these spirits for herself, because she knows she has done wrong. You learn something. She knew, she says there's no point of her living anymore. She sacrificed herself to save Ellie because she's not worth murdering. Well, she's not, because she only kills men. That's the thing. Because during her being used as a sex symbol back during the day. And it's like, of course. So she lets Ellie go and gets a boyfriend out of the place, and the whole goes shabang. And it's like, that's one way to end the film, and that's just fucking great. And it's like, you knew that if this didn't happen, didn't sacrifice itself, then it could have been shit in the same way. So I'm glad that it did end with that explosion, because if it didn't.
And I also enjoyed the ending, like a bit where Ellie passed a fashion show, and we see a reflection of Ellie's mother, who tragically took her own life, which was discussed about earlier in the film. And we also get a reflection of Sandy as well, which then ends the film. And I thought that was a very good touch.
And I think the best thing is, like, I'm glad this is going to be a standalone film, because like movie companies and that, I want a sequel. I have a sequel to Last Night in Soho, please. It's like,
it won't be.
What don't you do? Like, if Edgar Wright would do something like this again, do it differently. Do something that hasn't been done before. Like, do horror. Let Edgar Wright do like a horror film instead of psychological. Lead into the world of supernatural, or like, so you can even do a slasher, that kind of stuff, because he knows he's good doing the psychological trauma of people with schizophrenia and doing the sexual exploitation crisis, which introduced the Me Too community, and that's what's brilliant. And yeah, that's what the film explains. Pete, what did you rate this film out of 10?
Well, for me, out of 10, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved it. It was my film of the year. Straight from the moment it started, from the opening track, I was won over. And it just kept me entertained from beginning to end. It was thrilling. It was edgy, you see, told an interesting tale, visually stunning, some fantastic set effects there, and just a really good cast. Anya Taylor-Joy was mesmerising as the young Sandy. She's a very good singer as well. Matt Smith was such a polar opposite from his doctor character, and it was quite bizarre to see him in such a dark and twisted role. But yeah, for me, film of the year. Edgar Wright hasn't made a bad film yet, and I honestly can't wait to see his next film. I mean, this film is apparently bombed at the box office, which is a shame, because it's one of the most unique and original films of the year.
Exactly, because like, I literally think this could have been on like a couple of more weeks ago. Before it shouldn't really been released at the end of the year, because of course it's not going to really do well, because like there's no point, because Halloween, Halloween would have done that. That's the thing. But like, you had like, what else? You had Venom as well. That would have like been a box office bomb. But the thing is, it turned it, because Last Night in Soho didn't do well. It turned it into a flop at the box office. But you can tell this is a really underrated film, and I can see this going up for awards. Literally, this is award-worthy performance from Diana Rigg. And it would be a preposterous award for the best, I'm going to say villain in a film, like in the psychological kind of theme one. She deserves a reward for her performance, like what you saw. And even Anya Taylor-Joy as well. Like, her performance is amazing. And then you got, like, I would say, not really for best supporting, because there's not really a best supporting role in there I can think of, really. I just say for the best villain in a horror film or in a movie itself, I would say Diana Rigg.
Yeah, this film has cult classic written all over it. In years to come, people will say, "Hey, do you remember this film?" No? Well, see it, and the word of mouth will spread in years to come, especially when it comes out on physical.
Oh, exactly. Because like, due to me, I don't like collect all the new releases or anything, because I've got no room for them. That's why I collect Arrow titles. Like, I can see this needs an Arrow title, like an Arrow release, because that means it's out, because it is going to turn into a cult classic. If it gets released on Arrow, it's safe. We'll get loads of lovely special features on behind the scenes, but due to it being a Universal product, it'll get released on normal, and you get that crappy old menu. But yeah, I rate this absolutely 10 out of 10 as well, because it's absolutely brilliant. The story writing is phenomenal. Seeing all these shots of London, like the establishing shots, all these kind of stuff, and that's what we need. So yeah. So anyway, that's us going to end it for the day. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll see you next time for episode 25. 25 actually, for a review for Dawn of the Dead with AP Stevens. And I'll see you next time. Bye.